14 men vanished without a trace. No wreckage, no bodies, no distress call that made any sense. And to this day, no one knows why. This is the story of Flight 19, December the 5th, 1945. The war is over. The boys have come home. America is exhaling for the first time in years. But over the Atlantic Ocean, something is about to happen that will haunt naval investigators for the rest of their lives. Something that will make seasoned military commanders lower their voices when they talk about it. Something that, when you hear the actual radio transmissions, will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. 5 torpedo bombers take off from Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station on a routine training mission. 14 men aboard. Clear weather. Experienced pilots. Simple route. None of them will ever be seen again. But here is the detail that changes everything. The lead pilot, a decorated flight instructor, was heard saying something over the radio that no one has ever fully explained. Something that suggested he didn't just lose his way, he lost his sense of reality itself. And the rescue plane sent to find them? It vanished, too. We'll get to what was in that final transmission, and we'll get to why the Navy's own investigation concluded with a verdict so disturbing they tried to walk it back. But first, you need to understand what kind of water this was. The stretch of ocean southeast of Florida, between the tip of the Bermuda Islands and the coast of Puerto Rico, is not a place that forgives mistakes. Violent, unpredictable weather can materialize in minutes. The Gulf Stream moves through it like a river inside an ocean, fast enough to erase debris, scatter wreckage, carry away any evidence that something went wrong. Dozens of ships had already disappeared in this corridor before 1945. Not all of them made the newspapers. Not all of them got investigations. Some just stopped existing, and the ocean kept its secret. The military knew this, which is exactly why what happened on December 5th should have been preventable. Lieutenant Charles Taylor was a veteran pilot. Over 2,500 flight hours. He had flown combat missions in the Pacific. This was supposed to be simple. Lead 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers on a triangular training flight known as Navigation Problem Number 1. Fly east, turn north, return southwest to Fort Lauderdale. 2 hours in the air. 14 men home for dinner. They took off at 2:10 in the afternoon. By 3:40, something had gone terribly wrong. The first sign was a transmission picked up by another pilot flying in the area. Taylor's voice, crackling over the radio, speaking to one of his students. He said the compasses were not working. He said he wasn't sure where they were. And then he said something that stopped everyone listening cold. He believed they were somewhere over the Florida Keys. But the Keys were to the west. His route had taken him east. He was flying in the wrong direction in his own mind, and he didn't know it. The student pilots tried to correct him. One of them, Flight Leader Edward Powers, had his own compass. It told a different story. But Taylor held command. And in 1945, you follow the flight leader. Taylor made a decision that would seal their fate. He turned the flight north, convinced he was over the Gulf of Mexico. He was not. He was over the Atlantic. Every mile north was a mile further out to sea. The transmissions grew more desperate, more fragmented. The weather, which had been fine at takeoff, was deteriorating. Winds were picking up. Visibility was dropping. And the radio was fading, cutting in and out, tantalizing investigators with pieces of sentences they could never quite complete. At 5:15 p.m., Taylor was heard saying the flight would head west until they hit land, or until they ran out of fuel. They ran out of fuel. At 7:04 p.m., the last contact was made. Broken words, static, then silence. If you have a theory forming already, keep it in mind. I'll ask you at the end. the Navy launched one of the largest air and sea searches in American history. Over 300 aircraft, 21 ships. They scoured 250,000 square miles of ocean. They found nothing. Not a single oil slick. Not a life raft. Not a seat cushion. Not one piece of wreckage from any of the 5 planes. But here is where it gets stranger. A Martin PBM Mariner rescue plane with a crew of 13 took off to join the search. 23 minutes after takeoff, it was gone. The crew of a nearby tanker reported seeing an explosion in the sky in the approximate area where the Mariner should have been. When ships reached the coordinates, they found only a small oil slick. No bodies, no wreckage significant enough to identify. 27 men in total, 6 aircraft, 1 night. The Navy convened a board of investigation. They interviewed every witness. They studied every transmission. And then they issued a finding that stunned the aviation world. They declared the loss of Flight 19 to be due to reasons unknown. Not pilot error, not mechanical failure. Unknown. Taylor's mother pushed back. She argued her son was being blamed unfairly. The Navy eventually amended the report to remove direct criticism of Taylor. But the cause of disappearance? It stayed exactly the same. Unknown. If unsolved cases like this stay with you long after the video ends, subscribe. We uncover a new one every week. Think about what it means to lose 6 aircraft and 27 men and have no explanation. The Navy had radar. They had radio. They had search teams in the air within hours. The ocean floor in that region had been surveyed, and yet not one of those planes has ever been definitively located. In 1991, a salvage team discovered 5 Avenger torpedo bombers on the ocean floor about 10 miles off Fort Lauderdale. For a moment, the world held its breath, but the serial numbers didn't match. They were 5 different Avengers, lost at 5 different times. The ocean out there is so full of wreckage, it swallowed another mystery entirely. But the most disturbing part is still ahead. Charles Taylor had a history. Before December 5th, he had been lost on 2 previous flights, both times over water, both times requiring rescue. On the morning of Flight 19, he had reportedly asked to be excused from leading the mission. His reason is not recorded. We don't know what he felt that morning. We don't know if something told him not to go. He went anyway. And then there were 14 other men aboard those planes. Enlisted men, trainees, boys who had survived the war and were now in flight school, learning the last skills they needed before going home for good. Corporal George Devlin, Private First Class Robert Grubel, men who had been writing letters home, men who had photographs in their breast pockets. Their families waited. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Some of them held funerals without caskets. Some of them never held funerals at all, because to hold a funeral meant accepting something they could not accept. A few of them kept writing to the Navy for years, asking if anything had been found, asking if there was an update. The Navy wrote back with the same answer every time: no new information. Case remains open. That answer never changed. Now, 3 theories have survived the decades, and each one feels true until the moment it doesn't. The first is the simplest, and maybe the most brutal. Human error, compounded by bad luck. Taylor's compasses may have malfunctioned. His confusion may have been genuine. Disorientation over open water is more common than pilots like to admit. Once he believed he was over the Gulf, every decision he made was logical within his mistake. The flight followed him out to sea until their fuel ran dry, and they went into the water in the dark, in rough conditions, with no chance of survival. The Gulf Stream scattered everything. Case closed. Except the search covered thousands of square miles, and found nothing, not one fragment. That silence is too loud to be just an accident. The second theory involves something the Navy documented but couldn't explain: electronic anomalies. Multiple pilots in that region, across multiple years, reported compass failures, instrument malfunctions, sudden disorientation with no meteorological cause. Some researchers point to the geology beneath the Bermuda Triangle, specifically methane hydrate deposits on the ocean floor, which can destabilize suddenly, releasing gas plumes that could affect aircraft engines, sink ships rapidly, and leave no trace. The science is real. The deposits are real. But no one has ever directly connected a specific event to a specific plume. The theory is plausible. It is not proven. The third theory is the one that keeps people up at night, not because it is supernatural, but because it suggests the ocean is simply larger than we are. Statistically, researchers like Lawrence David Kusha have argued that the Bermuda Triangle's disappearance rate is no higher than any other equally traveled stretch of ocean. That we remember the losses here because we named the place. That Flight 19 was a tragedy, not a phenomenon. But that theory requires you to be comfortable with the coincidence of 27 people, 6 aircraft, 1 night, and not a single piece of wreckage ever found. Are you comfortable with that? 27 men flew into the Atlantic on an ordinary December afternoon. The ocean took them, and then the ocean said nothing. That is the only fact we have that cannot be disputed. So what do you think really happened out there? Was it a catastrophic mistake made by a man who should never have led that flight? Was there something wrong with that water? Something physical and real that science hasn't fully caught up to yet? Or is it simpler and more terrible than that? Is it just that the ocean is patient and it keeps what it takes? Tell me your theory in the comments. I read every single one. Every case we cover on this channel is real, unsolved, and still waiting for someone to notice the detail everyone else missed. Subscribe and be part of the search. Next week, we cross the world to a case that baffled an entire country for 40 years. A disappearance so clean, so complete, that investigators began to wonder if the person ever existed at all. Subscribe so you don't miss it.